So we're going to look at this program, this task. So create a program that asks the user to input a word and displays the word in reverse to the screen. So we're going to use JavaScript for this, and this is example input and our example output. So to start with, we're going to break it down. So we need to actually figure out what we're going to do. So in this case, we're going to need to ask the user a word. We need to display the word in reverse on the screen. And as this week's lesson was on iteration, loops, so we'll use a loop of some kind. There's other ways to do this, but not. So let's break it down. Decomposition. Input, ask the user to input a word. What the process is, reverse the characters of the word. And the output, display the reversed word. So that's our problem decomposition. From there, is there any patterns we can recognise? So the process itself could be a pattern. Doesn't matter what word it is. When it's completed, we can pass in any word. So this should be able to reverse any word or any string. So it's reusable. So abstraction. Yeah. Again, we don't care about the word. The word itself, it's just a string. We shouldn't care about it. And then we can move on to the pseudocode. So step 1. Ask the user for a word. We'll use the prompt command in Node.js. Step 2. We'll get the length of the word, which we can already get from JavaScript as a string. As we know the length of it, the correct loop or iteration method would be a for loop, because we know the number of iterations it needs to make. From there, set our loop, and as we're going to reverse it, we can count from the length of the word back to 0 and treat it as like an array. So for a loop, for length -1 to 0, save the current character in the loop to a new string, and once the loop's finished, display the reverse word in the required format as the task gave us. That's it, that's our pseudocode. From there we'll move on to our code. Or let's display it in a different type of pseudocode. Input, please enter the word. For word length -1 or word length to 0, do save the current letter or character to a new array of characters or a string. End the for and output reversed word. So 2 methods of the same pseudocode. So now we can jump to our code. So I've already started putting a bit in here. I put the prompt in to actually have prompt sync, so we can have our prompt in the console with Node.js. And I've already put the prompt in, so it's already let word, declaring the variable word and using the prompt, please enter a word. This prompt function takes whatever's entered in the console and saves it to the variable word, and in line 4 it will output it to the console, whatever the user typed in. So let's go ahead and run the program. Word arrows, and there we go, we can see it works, and the program's terminated. From there we can go ahead and start implementing our pseudocode. Let reverse word, declare the reverse word and set it to blank. So we've created an empty word. And for index equals word variable, and JavaScript has a .length to tell the size of a word. So it's length -1 because we're running from 0 to the -1 to the length -1. Index is greater than, well, index is greater than 0 or equal to 0, index minus. So that index minus means we're going to count backwards, so it's going to take 1 away each time, each loop. So it's counting from the top to down to 0. And with there, reverse word, we'll append to reverse word the current letter in the forward word, so word array I. I'll need to fix that because I is not at its index. Or we can use reverse word equals reverse word plus word I. I've used that again. These are the same thing, just the one on line 7 is a shorthand. So that would now loop through for the length of the word and reverse it in the new array. So console.log, and our required output for the word value, the contents of the word variable. Reverse would be the contents of the reversed word variable. And from here we can go ahead and we can hit the debugger, or just run it, because I've already got a debugger open, Node.js. We'll run it, enter our word channels, and then we get an error. And that error is purely because I used I instead of the word index for the variable in the for loop. And we'll go ahead and run it again, clear it. There we go. Yeah, and the reverse word, it's not actually done the formatting. Let's just go ahead and put it back to the old style. So the word, and then we'll just do a string append the old way, the plus. Reverse word would be reverse word. And we'll go ahead and I'll run that again. And there you can see it is the word Charles, but we've not got our formatting's a bit off there, we've missed a space. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Put the space in, put an R space in, and we'll run it again just to make sure. So the word Charles reverse would be whatever that is. So let's go ahead and actually see how it runs. We'll use the debugger that's built into Visual Studio Code. Replit also has one. And this sets breakpoints. The program will run to these red marks or breakpoints. This was me forgetting how to use the debugger. So there we go. So the debugger is now running at the left of us here. There we go. And then here we can see all the variables in the program, ones we set a watch to, and various other things once the program's running. So right now there is none because it's sitting at the second line. So enter a word, and we've reached our first breakpoint. You can see we've got all the block variables, all the local scoped variables. You can see the reverse word's empty and the word is Charles because it get put in on line 3. And hit continue, and we'll see that the variables change as we loop through. So our first loop has put S into the reverse word. I can't really see what the index is, it's up at the top, but let's go ahead and add watch variable. This is where we can set variables that we want to watch and not hidden in all that information. Oh, there we go, we can now see it. We can now see the index is currently at 5. Word still contains Charles and reverse word is just S. And we'll continue to loop through. So continue, index is now 4, reverse word contains SE. 2, 1, and 0. So there we go, and we're now out of the loop and we're on the last breakpoint. You can see it in the code, and the program is now finished and everything's out to screen. So the breakpoint shows you the program flow. So let's go ahead and complete our documentation. So at this point of the course we didn't need all the sections, but so we'll complete what we had. So code, paste it in, looks nice. Our screenshots, let's go ahead and dump a screenshot in. There we go. And that would be that task complete. Everything's there, pseudocode's there, all documentation, the breakdown, the brief. And we can see that we meet our brief and we don't need to do testing on